Okay, so this video is here to explain the 21st nakshatra out of the 27 nakshatras in Vedic sidereal astrology, known as Uttara. This is a nakshatra that falls in between 26.40 degrees of Sagittarius all the way to 10 degrees of Capricorn. And I got a lot to say about this nakshatra. I got a lot of notes. So this is going to be another long video. The planet that rules and controls this nakshatra is the sun. The deity that controls this nakshatra is the visual devas, which can be very confusing to understand. I'll get into nice detail on that. The symbolism for this nakshatra is an elephant tusk, and it is the planks of a bed. The Shakti, the energy, the ability of this nakshatra is to give unstoppable or permanent victory. And the sexual animal associated with it is a male mongoose. So, let's get into this lengthy, in-depth nakshatra that I have for you. And let's start off by talking about the traits and characteristics of the mongoose. So, this nakshatra is the only nakshatra that does not have a sexual counterpart for a sexual animal. This is a male mongoose, and there's no female mongoose out of these 27 nakshatras. Which makes sense because 27 isn't an even number. So one of these nakshatras was going to be left out when it came to having a opposite mate to have, sex with. And mongooses, they're stated to be very skilled when it comes to killing snakes. It's stated that a mongoose, they are resistant to the venom and the poison that some snakes can give when they bite them. Mongooses they just very smart and just can strike at the right moment and hit an opening when it comes to fighting a snake. So mythologically, snakes are naturally associated with Nagas, who I get into great depth and detail in my Slasha video in Cancer, if you want to go look at that and get more information on Nagas. But the Nagas, their realm where they live at is stated to be a beautiful place full of gems and crystals and all this stuff. They live in a very sensual and wealthy underground place and environment. And not only are they a possessor of material wealth, they are a possessor of occultic wealth, knowledge, and sacred hidden knowledge and information. So, and also the snakes, the Nagas, they're just like any other person. They can lean towards more so their positive traits or their negative traits. But snakes, typically, at least over here in America, they are given a real bad rep. They have a real bad negative stereotype when it comes to like spiritual reasons and stuff. But the mongoose being associated with this nakshatra and knowing that a mongoose in real life can beat the shit out of a snake, it shows that Uttara native, they are capable of rising above the negative traits and qualities that is naturally associated with Nagas, that is naturally associated with snakes. They are able to overcome those negative traits and stereotypes. Another fact about mongooses is that they're banned in certain places in the world, including the United States, apparently. Mongooses are banned. Apparently, mongooses primarily live in like Africa or live in Asia. I'm making sure. Yeah, they primarily live in Africa, Asia, and Europe. They're banned from the United States. The reason is because it's stated that when you take a mongoose out of their natural habitat, their natural environment, they tend to be rather destructive and end up, just killing and destroying everything within this environment, because apparently people was taking mongooses, since they know that mongooses is very skilled at killing snakes. People had the idea of taking a mongoose and using it to kill like rats and kill snakes that might be, in people's environments. They didn't want that in their environment. But instead, when they took the mongooses and placed them in this new environment that wasn't native to their own, it is stated that these mongooses, they did everything but kill the snakes. And if they did kill the snakes, they killed a whole lot more things than the snakes. They was killing just crops and plants and going after endangered species and stuff. You know, so because of their destructive, aggressive nature, they was moved from they was just banned from the United States and from a few other places. So what you can take from that little real life fact is that shows that a mongoose, it shows that the people of this nakshatra in Uttara Ashada, they are able to conquer enemy's territory. They're able to conquer their environment. You know, they're able to conquer it, because that's what the mongooses did. You take them to a new environment, they'll be real destructive, and they essentially will conquer that environment. You know, so that's one thing that you can see when it comes to mongooses, when it comes to Uttara Ashada Nakshatra. Another little fun fact about, well, I'll get to the fun fact later, but this is just a fact. Apparently, there's different variations, a bunch of different variations of mongooses. There's some mongooses, like meerkats, apparently, who like to be very sociable and travel in groups and packs. But then you got some different types of mongooses who prefer to be in solitude and stuff. And it is stated that mongooses, they only breed and have sex between March and May, and from October to December. So they don't fuck that much. They don't have that much sex, apparently. And that highlights but when I was telling y'all that, you know, mongooses, some can be sociable and some can be alone and prefer to be on their own, this nakshatra, in my opinion, more so highlights the solitude and loner side of the mongooses, because there is no sexual counterpart for this nakshatra. And this nakshatra, what did I tell you the other symbolism of it is? It's the planks of a bed. What is the planks of the bed? You know, you got your bed frame, but you need something to support the mattress. Once you put down the mattress, what's holding the mattress? It's the planks. You know, some beds, they got metal, like a little metal, frame or plank, or some beds, they have wooden, most of the time, planks to support the bed. And try sleeping on the planks of a bed. Try sleeping on your bed without a mattress, essentially. Try having sex on your bed, try having sex without the mattress. You just laying on the frame and the planks of the bed. That is not comfortable at all. You're not going to sleep good. You're better off sleeping and having sex on a floor. So what this teaches you and tells you is that this isn't the most sexual, lovey-dovey, romantic nakshatra out here. This is a serious nakshatra that's all about, handling business. But it makes sense, because look at the nakshatra that's opposite of Purnyavas. I mean, look at the nakshatra that is opposite of Uttara Ashada. I gave it away. In the Sagittarius side of this nakshatra, the opposite, within the degrees that this is in Sagittarius, the opposite nakshatra would be Purnyavasu, which deals with deaths and rebirth and short-term gains and victory and stuff. And then on the Capricorn side, the opposite nakshatra is a little bit of Purnyavasu, but for the most part, it falls into Pushya Nakshatra. Neither one of those nakshatras are really favorable for marriage, but especially on the Capricorn side for Pushya, we see that it's still a very favorable nakshatra for long-lasting success, because the opposite side of Uttara Ashada on the Capricorn side is Pushya, and Pushya is a nakshatra that's known to be favorable. It's known to be favorable for any and all activities except marriage, because Brihaspati's wife, who is the deity of that nakshatra, ends up having an affair on him and having a kid outside the marriage. So that's something to pay attention when it comes to wanting to learn about nakshatras. Pay attention to the nakshatras that's opposite of that nakshatra, and you'll see very similar strong themes within each other. But just because a nakshatra might not be the most romantic, it might not be the most favorable for marriage, it doesn't mean that that person cannot get married if they have this as their sun sign, or if it's the 7th lord. You can still get married. These are just some of the themes and possibilities and likelihoods, but you gotta look at other things like aspects, See if you hit with a bunch of benefics or malefics, or just the planet that has Uttara or whatever has directional strength. There's a lot of things you got to look at before you can just say that, oh, you won't find love. But in general, Uttara isn't the most romantic nakshatra. And like I said, you see that because this doesn't have no sexual counterpart for the male mongoose. The mongooses, they only mate during specific times of the year. And the symbolism is the planks of a bed. And the planks of a bed, you know, it supports the comfort. It supports the mattress. That's what the planks of the bed do. But before I get deeper into that, the last fun, interesting fact that I wanted to share with y'all that made me laugh a bit about mongooses that I looked up on the internet, and it says that male mongooses, they practice mate guarding. After they have sex with a woman, they follow her around and make sure she doesn't have sex with no one else. But it is assumed that because of this guardedness and this protectiveness, that the woman, she actually instigates a fight with the man, or she instigates a fight between the man and another guy, so that while these two guys are fighting, she can have sex with one of the guy's friends. And I was like, damn, that's cold. That's cutthroat. I'm like, look at that. These animals, they're not too different from humans. As soon as they have sex, they all up under the woman, and then they get on the woman's nerves, policing her and what she's doing, and then boom, she starts an argument and she ends up having sex with the guy's friend or something. But yeah, that's what mongooses do. Y'all can go Google that little fun fact and look that up. But what you can take from that story and how you can apply it to Uttara is that, you know, these people can be very protective. They will guard their prized possessions. You know, they just be very protective and guarded. But let me jump to what I was about to say about planks, and how what planks do is that they support your comfort, because they're supporting the weight and the comfort of your bed. So what an Uttara person will do is that they'll support their comfort in this world on the Sagittarius side. They'll support their comfort in this world by maybe pursuing spiritual, academical knowledge. They will pursue knowledge and information that might give them internal peace and help them navigate their way through this world. You know, they can support their comfort, whether it be mental or emotional or spiritual, by obtaining, you know, knowledge or going down a spiritual path. The Capricorn side, they will obtain their comfort. They'll try to support their comfort in this world by going down a more materialistic and corporate path. They will want to obtain material gains and pleasures and status and nice jobs and money, so that they can be able to support their comfort in this life on the physical, materialistic sense. But let's jump back to the mongoose, because the mongoose is associated with the god of wealth, Kubera. Kubera is the god of wealth, and the two animals that he is known to have by his side or to travel on as his form of transportation is a wild boar and a mongoose. And it's stated or theorized that one of the ways that he obtained all his wealth and got the moniker of, you know, the god of wealth or whatever, is because the mongoose, or at least the mongoose, is symbolic of maybe him stealing and obtaining wealth from the Nagas, from the humanoid snake-like beings and deities, you know. And it just shows that, that's probably how he likely obtained his wealth, since a mongoose can slaughter, you know, snakes. And the boar, it's a lot of symbolism between a pig, but naturally you could probably imagine the negative traits and symbolisms and metaphors when it comes to pigs. We can just see that he could be this greedy god of wealth and material possessions. And you know what? Looking at that wild boar that he travels on and that mongoose, It shows the two paths that an Uttara person can go on. They can be the Mongoose who rises above the negative traits and qualities of that is ascribed to a snake, or they can be this greedy hog. They can be this greedy pig. They can just become very over obsessive and overindulgent when it comes to material gains, wealth, and pleasure. They just become this pig. They just become degrading and nasty and just vile. But yes, because the god of wealth keeps a mongoose accompanied with him, we see that on the Capricorn side, these people's main motivation can be it can be on the wealth and the material gains. And also a pig, a boar, is naturally associated with Rahu. It's pigs and boars, they are stated to be, Rahu. So, what do we know about Rahu, the North Node, briefly? He's an Asura, and he blows things up. Not in like a bomb sense, but, he magnifies things. He wants to conquer things, and he wants to conquer the area in relation to the house and sign that he's sitting in your chart. He was one body at first. Before it was Rahu and Ketu, it was a serpent or a snake or dragon with one body known as Swabanu. And the reason he got decapitated was because he wanted to consume the elixir and the drink of the gods, known as Soma. So he changed his appearance. He drank the Soma to gain like enlightenment or to be immortal. The sun and moon spirit snitched on him. Vishnu found out, decapitated his head. So Rahu ends up becoming Rahu because he tried to consume something that he shouldn't have consumed. He tried to gain something that is very prized and valuable. Soma, this elixir that only the gods, the devas, could consume, was something that's very prized and valuable. Indra, the deity who rules Jyeshta Nakshatra in Scorpio, he does a lot to protect it and ensure that people don't get the Soma, doesn't get the elixir. He made sure that the Nagas, the serpents, didn't get the elixir. So, the boar, and with it being associated with Rahu, and with Kubera, the god of wealth, having a mongoose, and the mongoose being in this nakshatra, you can just connect all these dots. And you can see that these people, they could want to attain, on the Sagittarius side potentially, great, profound wealth of knowledge, or could develop belief systems that goes against what the traditional society believes in and what they go with. Because pigs are sort of frowned upon in Muslim religion, and it's the pig is frowned upon amongst Muslims and maybe other religions and belief systems. And Rahu, he goes against the grain. The North Node and South Node, they naturally go against the flow of things because they transit the nakshatras and the zodiac constellations opposite. So, like I said, on the Sagittarius side of Uttara, these people could want to attain great heights and feats when it comes to attaining spiritual, occultic knowledge and wisdom. They can become maybe too greedy with it. They can probably devote and dedicate their life so much to the knowledge that, in a romantic sense, they might abandon their spouse. They might neglect their spouse. And that is why you could probably see marital or relationship difficulties with this nakshatra. And then on the Capricorn side, the person could probably be so devoted to obtaining worldly possessions, obtaining a nice job, getting a nice car and house, just want the best of everything. They can get so obsessive of obtaining the best of everything and just always want to conquer things around them that it's like, damn, you spend more time at your job and you spend more time working on that computer than you do with your family, than you do with me. It reminds me of a scene of the Tyler Perry movie, Why Did I Get Married? And I forgot the name of the actor. I forgot the name of the characters, but Tyler Perry's character, his wife, They supposed to be on some marriage retreat, or on some retreat in general, and she is busy on the phone doing computer work for her job, and he is complaining that he hasn't had sex with her in forever because she is so focused and busy on her work. That can be the downside, or the possibility for an Uttara person. They can become so devoted and dedicated to their tasks that they end up neglecting their partner. Because like I said, it's the planks of a bed. The planks of a bed isn't sexual. They support your comfort. So these people can be very devoted to the things that might support their comfort in their life. And they can just potentially be all work and no play. And another thing, to drive that point even further, is that it's stated that Lord Vishnu is indebted financially to Kubera. Because, and I don't know the name of this incarnation, and I can't pronounce the name of the incarnation, so I'm not going to kill myself trying to say it. But Lord Vishnu, he took the incarnation of this person, of a human, where he was going to marry his consort. He was going to marry his partner, who was likely a reincarnation of Lady Lakshmi. But he was going to marry this woman in this incarnation, because apparently in his previous incarnation he promised her that he would marry her. And now in this other incarnation of this story, he's making sure that he fulfills that promise, that he marries her. So in order to have this wedding, he needed money. So he goes to Kubera to take a loan. And he promised Kubera that the loan would be paid off, and that anybody who worships and who is Vishnu's devotees and gives financial donations to Vishnu, that wealth will go towards the debt and go towards the high interest that Kubera gave him. So we see that, Vishnu is indebted to Kubera, and it's stated that to this day he's probably still financially indebted, and people go to these special temples in India or whatever and give financial donations to gain maybe favor of Vishnu and stuff, and help contribute to paying off his financial debt. And what does that teach you? That story teaches you that these people will naturally feel indebted to something. What do you do when you're in debt? You take a loan from a bank and you got money to pay back. What do you do to pay off that money? You got to work. You're going at your job. You making your payments on your mortgage from your job, from your paycheck. So these people, they'll move and work like they are in debt. They'll feel like they're indebted on the Capricorn side to something. They'll work and obtain maybe great success and feats and height and whatever their field is on a material level, as if they have to. And maybe they have more than enough, but they always want to keep achieving and conquering more, as if, they're indebted to someone. On the spiritual side, they can be very devoted and into their spiritual or religious or occultic thing. They can be so into their Hinduism, Buddhism, Christianity, astrology, tarot, whatever it is. They can be so devoted to that it's like, damn, you're so deep into this. You're so into it. You take it so seriously. And it's just all you do, is all you talk about. You can see that happen. They just get so devoted and indebted to it. That's how they'll behave. That's how they'll move. But it is important for an Uttara person to be careful to not flaunt. Be careful to not flaunt your don't be too braggadocious, egotistical, and flaunt your knowledge and your wisdom too much. Don't get so cocky and be like you're the best at what you do, or no one is smarter than you, no one is better than you. Your word is the truth, your word is the law. And on the Capricorn side, don't get too caught up in your material possessions and think that I got all this wealth. I got the best iPhone, the best camera, the best car, the best girl. No one's better than me. My life is the best. Look at all this money I got. Look at this commercial that I'm on. Don't get like that. Because there's a story of how Kubera, the god of wealth, he wanted to flaunt and show off his wealth to Lord Shiva by holding some great big feast or party or whatever for Shiva. But Shiva knew that he wasn't doing this. He knew that the reason that Kubera wanted to hold this feast or whatever for Shiva wasn't out of love or devotion. It was out of, pride. It was to fill his head. He wanted to be praised. So Shiva wanted to teach him a lesson. He ends up getting his son, Ganesha, Lord Ganesha. He ends up having his son go to the feast for him. And Kubera was disappointed because it's like, why did you give me a child to attend my feast? I want you to be there. I want to impress you and gain your praises. But Ganesha goes there and he keeps eating all the food. He eats up all the food that Kubera had. He ate up so much food that Kubera, the god of wealth, had no more food to give him. And he's basically begging Ganesha to please stop eating because he has no more food. And I think Ganesha was basically like, if you don't feed me, I'm going to eat you next, or you're next, or something. So Kubera panics, goes to Shiva for advice, and he ends up, at least in this animated story that I've seen on YouTube, that's where I heard this story from this beautiful channel whose name I don't remember off the top of my head, but according to this mythological story, he goes to Shiva, and Shiva gives Kubera Ganesha's favorite food that he likes to eat, and told him, I hope that you learned your lesson now, in that by giving Ganesha his favorite food, which is puffed rice, that if you give it to him with sincerity and humbleness, and if he eats that, his anger and his hunger pangs or whatever will vanish. So Kubera goes, gives the puffed rice to Lord Ganesha, and everything was all cool. And it was in that, the main purpose of that story was just, for him to humble himself, thinking that he got the best of everything. He does got the best of everything, but he don't gotta flaunt it. Ganesha literally almost ate him out of a house and home. He ate more than what Kubera could offer to give him. So another story, and you see the similarity of Shiva humbling Kubera, even sort of symbolically, astrologically, because I looked up what is the predator of a mongoose. The predator of a mongoose is a hawk and a jackal. And a jackal is essentially like a wolf. So then I thought about the nakshatras. What's the closest thing to a wolf? A dog. It's stated that dogs and wolves, they sort of like similar or whatever. So what are the dog nakshatras? It is Ardra and it's Mula. Who is the deity of Ardra Nakshatra? It is Rudra, who is this form of Shiva, this destructive storm god of Shiva. And who is Nariti? A goddess of destruction. And who is Shiva? Shiva is a god of destruction. And what do we know about Rudra? If you want to know more about that, you gotta go look at my Ardra video. But it stated that when Rudra was born from Brahma, that he split himself up into 11 forms, into 11 gods, into 11 males, 11 male Rudras, 11 women, 11 females, Rudranis. And one thing that I forgot to mention in my Mula Nakshatra video is that one of the takes of Nariti is that she is stated to be a female form of Shiva. She is stated to be a Rudra, or should I say a Rudrani, a destructive different aspect of Shiva himself. And I just told you the story, how Shiva sent his son Ganesha to humble the god of wealth, Kubera. And I just told you how the predator of a mongoose is a jackal, who is essentially a wolf. And wolves are sort of similar to dogs. And then the dog nakshatras is Mula and Ardra. So we just see that since Shiva has some type of connection to Mula Nakshatra, or at least, at the very least, definitely Ardra Nakshatra, we see that, I don't know, we just see that connection of Shiva just being able to kill a person's ego, being able to humble them in the same way he did Brahma many times. But you, like I said, you can hear about that in my Ardra Nakshatra video. So how can we apply that little crazy mythological story and rant that I just went on in real life? We can see that whenever a person, like I said, they get too egotistical and brag about their knowledge and their wealth, a superior, a person in a position of power like Shiva was, they will come and they will humble you and teach you a lesson. They'll crush your ego. They'll kill your ego. You think you're so important. You think you're the best. You're great at what you do, but in the grand scheme, you're nothing. So don't think that you're better than anyone just because you obtain all this stuff. It's good that you obtained all these things, but don't think that you are the utmost best at any and everything and that no one can tell you anything different. Do things out of love and don't do things to get your ass kissed. That's sort of what you can take from that story. I think that's all the little connections that I got to give you when it comes to the Mongoose and Kubera. So now we can move on to another aspect. Let's move on to the Vishnu Devas. Who the hell are they? It's very confusing, right? Because first, when I learned about the structure, the Vishnu Devas, I could never get a straight answer on who are the Vishnu Devas. I go look up Vishnu Devas and I hear many different things. I hear that it's like 30 million gods or 120 million deities and gods. Or I read that the Vishnu Devas are basically all of the deities of the prior nakshatras. The Vishnu Devas, this nakshatra, they're just benevolent gods. They're just benevolent deities. And it just got real confusing. So I'm going to go my own path that I chose to explain the Vishnu Devas. In one interpretation, one belief system, is stated that the 10 sons of Dharma are like the deities of this nakshatra. And their name is Vasu, who apparently means goodness, Satya, which means truth, Kratu, which means willpower, Daksha, which represents or means ritual skill, Kala, which means time, Kama, which means desire and lust, Dritti, which means firmness and forbearance, Kuru, which means or represents ancestors, and Pururavas, which represents abundance and brightness, and Madravas, which represents the peak of joy. And also Lord Ganesha is connected to this nakshatra, but I'll get to him in a minute. Essentially, this nakshatra is just supposed to embody a bunch of good, dignified, noble traits and qualities of gods and of deities. And that's what it's supposed to do. Just embody the positive, noble, and good traits of gods and deities. But like I said, looking up the Vishnu Devas, it gets confusing because you're used to just having one singular entity associated to a nakshatra to, get your point across. So, for that reason, I, in my opinion, strongly believe if I had to give one deity associated with this nakshatra, I choose Vishnu. And I broke it down, so I'm just not talking up my ass. So think about it. What does the name Vishnu mean? Vishnu's name means the all-pervasive one. And who is Vishnu? Vishnu is known as the Vishnu is known as the preserver god. He is stated, his job is to preserve the creations, to preserve the world, to preserve the universe that Lord Brahma created, because Lord Brahma is the creator, Vishnu is the preserver, aka the protector, and Shiva is the destroyer. He destroys. Creation, destruction, protection, preserver, whatever. There's many different stories and interpretations about which one of those three is the most superior god, or many different interpretations about the beginning and creation of things, but I like this one that I'm about to tell y'all better. In one telling, it is stated that Lord Vishnu, he lays in like the bottom of like a cosmic ocean with his wife Lakshmi, the goddess of wealth, rubbing his feet as he lays back on a snake bed, as he lays back on the deity, the Naga. Adisesha or Sheshnag, and he just lays at the bottom of the ocean. And it's stated that one day a plant came from his navel, came from his belly button, like a stem came from his belly button, and it bloomed and turned into a lotus. And out of that lotus came Lord Brahma. And Lord Brahma ended up creating everything and creating Shiva, and that's how everything goes. So one interpretation about reality is that it's stated that, you know, we're just living in Vishnu's dream. This is one crazy interpretation that, you know, Vishnu is actually like asleep, dreaming. And in the middle of his dream, in the middle of his sleep, you know, this plant came from his navel, and Brahma came out of the lotus flower. Brahma created everything, and you know, it's just a domino effect after that. So it's almost like Lord Brahma, the creator god, he is fulfilling the will of Lord Vishnu in a sense. And it is also stated that the whole entire, you know, universe, our universe or whatever, is like within the body of Vishnu. Within his body, within his mouth, he contains all the planets, all the stars, all the solar system, all the galaxies and universes and multi-universes, multiverses. He contains everything, all of that within his body. It's stated that he is he's nothing and everything. He's everything. Everything is him, and he is everything. That's how he is described. And just think about the name all-pervasive one. That just means that he's everywhere. He's in everything. He's omnipresent. He sees everything. He knows everything. He allows certain things to play out, and he only reincarnates into he only reincarnates on Earth into a major figure when he needs to step in and intervene and protect his world, protect his creation, or to push the consciousness and the collective of in humanity and mankind into a different direction. And when you figure out stuff in that direction, you know, it sort of it sort of gives you clarity. You know, some people be questioning if God is real or not, and they think that because they just believe that God or their idea of God is supposed to protect them and stop every little single negative thing that happens in life, because there's a lot of tragedy goes on in life. But I don't believe God in general, whatever religion you're into or believe in, I don't believe God in general is supposed to protect you from every little single boo-boo or a negative event that happens in your life. Some things you're just supposed to go through and experience as part of life or whatever. But that's a whole nother spiritual discussion that I could probably make a whole nother video on. But so going back to the Vishnudevas, they're known as the universal gods, and I believe Vishnu is like the embodiment of the universal gods, especially if you are familiar with the Bhagavad Gita or have read it, you know, which is this spiritual text, which is essentially a conversation between Vishnu's 8th major incarnation, Krishna, with Arjuna, who is known to be this great character and this great archer in a story known as the Mahabharata, in which, you know, Arjuna's in this huge war, and Krishna is his charioteer, you know, guiding him in the literal sense and in the spiritual sense in the middle of the battlefield. You see, it's many different interpretations on the Bhagavad Gita, but in the Bhagavad Gita, essentially, Arjuna is in the middle of a war where he has to fight and kill people that is his family. He got to kill and fight his family and friends so that his brother, I believe, who is the rightful heir of this kingdom, of this throne, can get it. And he gets to the battlefield and he loses his will. He loses his will and desire to fight. And he goes to Krishna, who is like his guru, his teacher. He asks him for advice on what should he do. And it's in this battlefield that Krishna just drops all this spiritual knowledge on him, on, you know, just gives him a bunch of spiritual knowledge that will help him with the fight, and gives him, and in a sense, it's sort of metaphorical. Some people believe that Arjuna is sort of, he's supposed to represent humanity. He's supposed to represent like humanity. But anyway, Y'all gonna have to read that story for himself because I'm getting long-winded. Krishna, in the middle of him giving knowledge and information to Arjuna, he reveals his real form to him because no one knows for real that Krishna is this divine entity. Not too many people know that Krishna is the incarnation of Vishnu. So what happens is Krishna is given all this knowledge and wisdom about reincarnation and talk about the soul, and Arjuna is starting to catch on like, hold on, there's something more to this guy than what I thought he was. You know, there's more to him than the eyes perceive. So it's like, who the hell are you? And he says, I'm gonna bless you with a spiritual vision. So boom, he gives him like this cosmic spiritual DMT like experience, and he reveals his true cosmic form, his true cosmic nature that y'all gonna have to look up. But the name of this form is known as his Vishvarupa form, which means his universal form, which is this crazy, huge, trippy amalgam form of his, where, you know, it's like Arjuna is in space and he see all these different forms and clones of Vishnu or Krishna. He sees that his eyes are as bright as like the sun or the moon, and that he sees the army that he's about to fight. They're just all running into Krishna's mouth, being killed and crushed and destroyed. And he just sees the universe. He sees multiple different realities. He sees the past, present, and future, all in his vision, all within the body of this cosmic form of Krishna or Vishnu. And it became so overwhelming that he had to ask him, like, please, can you stop this vision? And I think Krishna told him that, you know, most people probably would have passed out or fainted from such an overwhelming experience that I just gave you. But yes, go look up that form, the Vishvarupa form, or go look up or read the Bhagavad Gita yourself, and you'll see what I mean. But it's in this form, it's in the Bhagavad Gita when he's talking to Arjuna, that he reveals that, you know, everything is him, and that he represents all realities. He represents all gods. He represents everything. He is everything. He's in everything. He told him that this war that you're stressing over is already won. And the war is going to be won in our favor, whether you fight it or not. But I'm merely using you as my instrument. I'm merely trying to express my will through you. But this war, regardless of what you do, is already won. You know, all you got to simply do is just take action. And don't worry about it. The Bhagavad Gita mainly tells you to focus on the task that you have at now, and don't stress about, you know, the outcome of it. And also the Bhagavad Gita, which ties to Uttara Nakshatra, it teaches you how to live and be within this world, be within this reality, but still live a spiritual, noble, sattvic life. Because some people think to be real spiritual, you gotta abandon the world, abandon the whole entire world, and just do, you know, penances and sacrifices and offerings, and you don't gotta do no crazy stuff to be spiritual. You can still live a good, decent spiritual life and work a 9-to-5 job or have a family. The Bhagavad Gita teaches you that. Krishna on the battlefield teaches Arjuna that. So with that being said, and with me explaining the foundation of Vishnu and how he's the all-pervasive one, and how Brahma came from him, and then Brahma created everything, and how he has this huge cosmic form that shows the multiverses and the universe and the stars and the past, present, and future, and all the different realities and stuff. Vishnu is the perfect embodiment of the Vishwadevas. If everything truly came from him, he's the perfect embodiment. I believe in the Bhagavad Gita, he describes that, you know, this universe, this reality that we live in, is merely like a necklace, or like the bead of a necklace around his neck. That's how significant our existence is in the grand scheme of multiverses or reality. We're nothing more than like the bead of a necklace around someone's neck, or no more than like a raindrop on your windshield of your car. You know, that's how massive and grand he is, and that's how small our existence is in the grand scheme of things. So he's the perfect embodiment of what the Vishwadevas would be, you know. And the Uttara, the Vishwadevas, they're stated to be, you know, possess a lot of noble traits and qualities. the Mongoose being in this nakshatra shows that you can tame and overcome the negative traits associated with snakes and Nagas. Well, another story of Vishnu that further supports this statement that I'm making is that it was stated that there was a test to see who is the supreme godhead, who is the supreme god out of Vishnu, Brahma, and Shiva. And Brigu, Sage Brigu, who is the son of Brahma, did the test. So he did the test by sort of aggravating Shiva and Brahma and Vishnu to see who would react. You know, Brahma and Shiva got angry, but Vishnu didn't get angry and upset, even though he was being kicked and sort of kicked on by Brigu. And eventually, you know, at least according to Brigu, he believes that Vishnu is the most supreme version of God, or the most supreme out of the Trinity, because of his ability to not get angry in the face of being shown disrespect. So the Uttara person, they want to, or desire to, you know, they can or want to, at least on the Sagittarius side at least, they want to be, they need to learn or want to be immersed in the world and be spiritual at the same time. You know, the Sagittarius side, they can pursue spiritual knowledge and pursuits, but they also need to find a way to integrate themselves within the world. Still be within the world. Still exist here, because you was reborn as a human for a reason. And Capricorn side, they need to learn to not get too caught up in the material possessions and find a way to still live a noble, spiritual, or decent life and be a family man. You know, they got to find that balance. That's what the Uttara person, that's what they need to do. That's what they need to work on. And another thing, this nakshatra, I told you the Shakti, the energy, the ability of it is long-lasting victory, is long-lasting success. So after, you know, Krishna and Ardra, they win this great big war, Krishna ends up getting cursed. And he accepts the curse. Because, you know, he's this great divine entity, the reincarnation of this great divine entity, Vishnu. But he accepts his hex, this curse that this woman gave him. She told him that within like 36 years that him and his kingdom or whatever, they would fall apart. And eventually, you know, Krishna dies because he gets shot in his left foot by like a poisoned arrow or something. So what can we take from that? These people will have to probably fight hard or work hard to, you know, achieve success in their field or whatever they're at. But once they achieve success, they'll have long-lasting victory. He achieved success in this Mahabharata war or whatever, and he enjoyed a period of success and peace for 36 years before things fell apart. And you just think about that like in the animes, you know? Nothing is permanent. Think about Dragon Ball Z or whatever. After someone beats the villain or whatever, they might experience a couple years or whatever of peace, but there's always going to be war. There's always going to be a conflict, and that's sort of the upside of this nakshatra. So, you know, you might sit on the throne of your company, be a CEO for a long time. You have a long-lasting reign, a long-lasting president run, a long-lasting relationship before you deal with conflicts and stuff. So that's the beauty of it. Once these people achieve success, once these people obtain their target, obtain their goal, they'll enjoy the fruits and benefits of that for likely for a long time, for a war. Because he got shot in his left ankle, his left foot, and died with an arrow, these people, especially in the Saturn side, because especially in the Capricorn side, because Capricorn is ruled by Saturn, the deity associated with Saturn is Shani, and Shani is known to be to limp, and Saturn is known to be the slowest moving planet. You know, so on the Capricorn side, people who have planets in Uttara in the Capricorn side, they could really suffer a leg injury or something, potentially. And also, these people, they would love to be worshipped, love to be praised for their spiritual knowledge. They would love to be praised and worshipped for their material possessions and stuff. Just like Kubera wanted to be praised and glorified for his wealth. So that's one thing you'll see also with Uttara. They'll hold a lot of emphasis and weight and value on their wealth materially and their wealth intellectually and spiritually. I'm trying to see what else can I say about these nakshatras. So to make sure that I am not missing nothing, you know. Another thing, I told you that Vishnu is the all-pervasive one. You know, he sees everything. He knows everything because he just sees everything. And that teaches you that, you know, with awareness and consciousness, that when you just know better, you do better. The Uttara person, they achieve victory with awareness. They achieve victory with spiritual awareness or just intellectual awareness and enlightenment. With consciousness, with awareness, they are able to achieve victory. The Uttara, even on the spiritual sense, they can achieve victory over themselves and over their negative traits and qualities and their demons by simply being aware of them. You know, many spiritual books, they just emphasize being present, being aware, and just being aware of the stuff going on in your minds. You go into a negative self-talking rant, notice that, stop it, and figure out why you feel that way and all that stuff. So when you know better, you will truly do better. If you know better and know why you feel the way you feel, and you're able to see why your mind goes down a negative path, you'll be able to stop it before it begins. If you know the best way to move about a situation that would maybe have the least amount of casualties and troubles and problems, you'll go that path. So it's very true. When you know better, when you really know better, you will do better. You're only as good as your mind. You know, your actions are a reflection of your mind. So, you know, you'll see that with this Nakshatra. And I'm trying to see what else I have to say about this Nakshatra. I believe that's essentially it. This Nakshatra, between the degrees of 6.40 degrees to 10.53 degrees, is Abhijit Nakshatra. And Abhijit Nakshatra is a nakshatra that was removed from the constellation by Krishna himself, because his opponent, who was going up against in the war, they was going to start the war during that transit, and he knew that they would win, or it would be real tough to beat them if they started it on that transit. So he ends up moving that constellation, and they couldn't look for it and stuff. But that Abhijit Nakshatra falls in between 6.40 degrees of Uttara in Capricorn to 10.53 degrees in Capricorn. But in the real world, in the real life, we don't use this nakshatra because it's 27 nakshatras. There used to be 28. We don't use Abhijit because I believe, to my understanding, the moon barely transits over that nakshatra. It barely transits over that constellation. So we dismiss it. But, you know, for people who are born with planets within those brief degrees, they are really great. And, you know, they're sort of like, you know, in control of their destiny. They can achieve, you know, victory and can be unstoppable in their task and their endeavors, you know, because Abhijit, I believe, means like unconquerable, unstoppable victory. And that's essentially all I have to say about this nakshatra for real now, because my camera's probably about to die and I might have to cut this video. But oops, nope, my phone probably really gonna die. But an immature side of Uttara, they could probably be attracted to people who represent the negative qualities of the snake and of the wild boar, the pig. They might be attracted to people who might be, you know, very wealthy or just exude negative traits and qualities and personalities, you know. And once they get that person that they know they shouldn't be with, okay, so my fucking camera had died as I had expected, and now it's a different day. But let me pick up where I left off. It's probably my longest nakshatra video. It's like an hour-long video, just non-stop knowledge. But as I was saying, the Uttara person, they could probably be attracted to people, you know, who could possess, you know, maybe negative pig-like and snake-like qualities, because you see, as I told you, the Uttara person, you know, the sexual animals, the Mongoose, and the Mongoose is able to slay and tame the snake, and Kubera, the god of wealth, is seen holding or owning a snake and a pig and a boar, which is associated with Rahu. So, and Uttara is supposed to be like this nakshatra with these noble and positive qualities and traits to them. So we might see that an Uttara person, they might see someone who might, you know, have, who they know probably is no good for them, but they probably attracted to that person anyway. And then once they start dating that person, getting to know them, you know, they might want to try to maybe convert them and change them. And be like, okay, you know, you're cute and all, and I was attracted to this little toxic or negative side of you, but, you know, I want you to elevate. I want you to be better. I want you to change. And that could end up causing conflicts in any relationship. You know, you try to transform or change someone to be what you think is ideal and what goes against them. But so that's something that maybe an Uttara person should be careful of. Their attempt of maybe trying to convert or change their lover to think and feel the same way as them, or trying to tame and control maybe their fiery or negative nature. And I thought I was done. I know I kept saying I'm almost done in my last video, but no. I would be upset if I forgot this part, this piece of information in this Nakshatra video. I didn't talk about Lord Ganesha. So it stated that Lord Ganesha is, you know, related to this Nakshatra. Because the symbolism of it is an elephant tusk. But what do we know about Lord Ganesha? It stated that he wrote the Mahabharata epic that details this great mythological war. He broke off his tusk, and he used his tusk or whatever to write this epic, to write this war or whatever, this story. So we can see the authorship within a Uttara person. And then let's really focus. And also another thing with elephant tusk. An elephant tusk regrows unless the elephant tusk is damaged at the root. So that shows and highlights the nature, just like it was in Purva Ashada, that in Uttara Ashada too, these people don't stay down for long. And learning the story of Ganesha's birth and how he sort of became known as the remover of obstacles and the firstborn child of the universe and the Lord of Beginnings and all this stuff would really help you understand Uttara Ashada Nakshatra, and that would be the nail in the coffin for real with this Nakshatra. So it is stated that one day Parvati created Ganesha, and I believe she wanted him to watch, you know, to make sure no one, you know, enters this room, this house, this bathhouse, whatever, while she's doing whatever she's doing. So he does it. Lord Shiva comes in and exchanges words with Ganesha and wants to get by, and Ganesha doesn't allow him, and he ends up fighting with Shiva, and he ends up beating and besting Shiva. So I believe Shiva goes and gets some of the other male gods and deities to come in and help him defeat Ganesha. But Ganesha was beating all these other male gods and deities. And I believe it was at the suggestion of Lord Vishnu, who stated that if we could take the mace, because that was the weapon that Ganesha had, if we could separate the mace from his hand, then maybe we could, you know, be able to stand a chance and beat him or whatever. So, some way, somehow, they distracted Ganesha, caught him off guard, took his mace, and decapitated him. And once he got decapitated, his mother, Parvati, felt and sensed that her son was dead, and she was enraged. And, you know, she took these other powerful women goddesses and maybe, and I believe, summoned Goddess Durga or whatever. And there was a war, apparently, between men, the male gods, and the women gods. And I believe Brahma, Lord Brahma or someone said that, you know, we got to put an end to this because this is going to just destroy the universe with this battle. So I believe either Shiva or Vishnu or someone came up with the suggestion or idea that we just need to bring the boy back to life because Shiva has the ability to revive the dead. So I believe he suggested that someone goes and finds the head of the first living creature that they can find. Take that head and bring it here, and he'll make that head the head for Ganesha. So they end up bringing back an elephant head, and they end up putting that on the dead boy's body, on Ganesha's body, and he was revived. And not only was he revived, he was blessed with the honor that he should be worshipped before any other god, I believe, during a ritual, you know, doing praise and worship. He should be worshipped before any other god, which is why he's known as like this, you know, this Lord of the Beginnings, or known as like, you know, the firstborn child. It's because he was blessed with the boon from Shiva to be worshipped before any other god. And why is he known as the remover of obstacles? I can only theorize this. I can only theorize. It's not like this is a fact, but from that story, you see that Ganesha was someone who wasn't going down without a fight. He was able to best Shiva, he was able to best these other gods, and it was only through some deception or some clever teamwork that they was able to take him down. And even after they took him down, his status elevates, because after he dies, he's elevated to a higher position. At first he was just a regular child, and then boom, he is elevated to this, you know, he's blessed with this ability to be worshipped before any other god and maybe some whole other stuff. So through death, or through his seemingly defeat, or through his struggles, through his tough battle, even when he lost, he won. So this just shows that the path for an Uttara person, it might be a war till they get their long-lasting victory and success and peace, and it might be a struggle. But once they win, they'll experience long-lasting success in their field. And there's even spiritual meanings behind the head. Well, is there spiritual meanings? There probably is a spiritual meaning behind his head being an elephant, but I can't think of none at the top of my head. And now, that is the end of this lengthy Uttara Ashada Nakshatra video where I explained Abhijit, Vishnu, his Vajra Rupa form, why Abhijit isn't used. I know I was rushing before my camera died, so I'm just make sure that I didn't brush past anything to confuse y'all. But yes, it stated that Abhijit Nakshatra was moved by Lord Krishna, the 8th incarnation of Vishnu, because he didn't want the people that he was going against a war in, he didn't want them to start the war on that day, because I believe that the name Abhijit means like unconquerable, you know, unconquerable, unstoppable victory or whatever. And it stated that those specific degrees that I told y'all, like between 6 to 10 degrees of Capricorn, is ruled, that is in Abhijit, and Abhijit is specifically stated to be ruled by Brahma. But yeah, and you could just, since we know that Brahma is knowledge and intellect, we could just see that, you know, it further highlights that through consciousness and awareness and intelligence, these people can get the upper hand on their enemies and opponents. And but yeah, it stated that Krishna, he just moved the constellation. He moved that Abhijit constellation. And like I said, I'm not familiar or knowledgeable in astronomy and, you know, real astrological planetary facts, but it is to my understanding that the moon, that the constellation of Abhijit is really out of the range of where the moon transits, or maybe where the other planets transits. It's out of the range. So the moon just barely transits a few degrees of it. You know, it only transits like 6 to 10 degrees. That's only like 4 degrees. It only spends like 4 degrees in that nakshatra, and then, you know, it goes into another side. It goes to another nakshatra. And then there's another saying that there's another theory that they be like the 27 nakshatras are women, because it's a theory that, you know, the moon spirit is like this womanizer. Chandra's like this womanizer, and the 27 nakshatras are his wives. And his favorite wife was Rohini, which is why he got cursed to die and be brought back to life, to wax and wane. And it stated that, you know, Abhijit Nakshatra was a masculine nakshatra, was a man, so he had no interest in it. But yes, I hope this long, drawn out video about Uttara Nakshatra gave you great clarity and insight on what happens when you have planets in Uttara Nakshatra. If this, you know, if you like this video, like it, subscribe, comment. You want to book a little consultation and have me explain, you know, your placements in your birth chart, go click the About Me section in my YouTube channel and hit the link, and see you in my next video.